Hi, I'm Joy, and today I'd like to talk to you about Chiron, specifically Chiron transits. So, what is Chiron in astrology? Chiron is our deepest wound, and it has this archetype of the wounded healer. So, basically, when you go through something that's very painful, it gives you some insight about how to be a healer for others in relevant areas. So, when we're looking at how transiting Chiron, so the transits are where Chiron is in the sky right now and how that's impacting your chart. When we look at that, what we're looking at is how this wounded healer archetype is impacting other placements in the chart. And when it comes to Chiron transits, they can be pretty painful. So think about like if you go to the doctor and you kind of have like a vague stomach ache, and the doctor's like, well, let's see here. I'm going to push around a little bit. And then he pushes that spot, and you're like, ah, that hurts so much more. It's a lot like that with Chiron. So what ends up happening is as Chiron transits are other areas of their chart, it shows us exactly where we're hurting. We find out about pain that we didn't even know was there. So it can be a very painful transit. However, it can also be a wonderful opportunity to do some very deep and very real, impactful healing. So this applies most to conjunctions. So let's say if Chiron is at 8 degrees Aries and your Mars is at 8 degrees Aries, you are going to find out during like that conjunction exactly how your like power to do and possibly some aggressiveness and potentially just going after things that you want in life and any other Mars related theme, you're going to be made painfully aware of various wounds that you have related to that. Maybe it would be something like, not having enough follow through when you go for something, or maybe it would be something more along the lines of having been inhibited in your Mars and not having opportunities to go after things that you want because of other placements in the chart, or because of just other things. So basically, when Chiron transits an area, and like I said, the tighter the conjunction, so the closer it is to being exact, the exact number of degrees, the more intense it is. However, there are also other aspects that can be pretty impactful. So in opposition, when Chiron's opposite, so using the same example, if you had Mars at 8 degrees in Libra or Venus or anything else, any other placement, then when Mars is at 8 degrees Aries, your placement in that's opposite it is going to feel that. And then squares also can have this impact. So basically, what happens is that the doctor, is pushing around, and then we're like, that hurts, stop. It's a terrible idea to come to the doctor. I don't want to come to the doctor. I want to run away from this pain. And that's a very natural human reaction. That's what humans do, try to avoid pain. We have what's called a negativity bias. So humans are like actually wired to pay more attention to pain and pain avoidance than any kind of like stability or pleasure or growth or anything else. So we're naturally wired to avoid pain, and for that to be like one of the most, if not the most, impactful pattern in our psyche. So a lot of times when it comes to Chiron transits, people try to do things to escape the pain instead of working with the doctor. So what happens when the doctor pushes on that spot and says, and you say, ah, it hurts so bad. Like, is it time to leave the doctor? No, let the doctor do his work. So like maybe it's your appendix and your appendix needs to come out and you wouldn't have known that and the doctor wouldn't have known that without pushing around on your stomach a little bit. And yeah, it hurts, but once you get it taken care of, then you are going to be a lot healthier and feel a lot better. And it's very similar with Chiron transits. Or think of like going to the dentist. You know, if you have a little bit of a toothache and you avoid the dentist because you don't want to deal with the pain of like getting a filling or whatever it is you need, then it's just going to get worse, and you know eventually it's going to compromise the tooth and you might not even have that tooth anymore. So it's very important to work with these transits, even though there is some pain involved with them. And let's just talk a little bit about how to do that. Like how do you work with Chiron pain? So when it comes to depth work and healing and processing just in general, I always tell people slow is fast, take it easy. You don't need to, you know, this is not a sprint. Try to avoid intensity if you can. You can do this a little bit at a time. It's actually bad for the nervous system to dive too deep into it all at once. So it's important to have this willingness to meet whatever is there and just let it be what it is, but also not to like lose yourself in it. And it's really important to counterbalance that kind of depth work with physical stability and physically pleasurable things, simple pleasures in life. And you know, eating healthy, sleeping well, you know, all of these types of things. And this is how Taurus can balance out Scorpio. So, or second house can balance out eighth house, you know. So in general, my perspective on, you know, dealing with any kind of like painful healing scenario or like painful transformation is like just take it easy, slow is fast. Like you're always going to be perfectly imperfect, and that is perfectly okay. So, you know, there's no need to just like throw yourself completely into it. Just deal with whatever comes up and make sure you're taking very good care of yourself in the meantime. Try to take care of your nervous system, all that sort of thing. However, so that's my general approach. However, when it comes to Chiron transits, when they're at their most intense, just being present with it and hanging in there is kind of, at least for a short period of time, sometimes it's kind of just like all you can do, because sometimes it's just too intense to focus all that much on you know, doing what you can to balance it out with pleasure and that sort of thing. So am I saying, so Chiron transits are very long, usually, by the way, especially in Aries. Chiron has an oblong orbit around the sun. So Chiron actually will spend more time in some signs than others. And the Aries part of the zodiac is the part that Chiron spends the most time in, which is a little bit telling about humans and humanity and life on Earth just in general. But in any case, these are long transits. And I'm not saying that it's going to be excruciatingly painful the entire time. That is not the case. I happen to have 3 placements in Aries myself, and right now I'm going through a 4-year Chiron transit. And is it all pain? No, absolutely not. It has not been constant pain. However, there have been some extremely painful times. That has definitely been a thing. And I fortunately have the tools at this point in my life to know how to open into that pain instead of bracing against it or trying to escape it. So I was able to confront a lot of things, and I shouldn't even say confront. Just like when stuff came up, I was able to hold it in awareness. And this is the trick with Chiron. Chiron is the wounded healer. So when you're a healer to others, it's through compassion. It's through a lack of judgment. It's through empathy and understanding. That's what we get from, in as far as healing, and just like this, also kind of this like natural wisdom about how to move through it too. So the same thing applies when we are our own healers, you know, and everybody is first and foremost a healer for himself or herself before anybody else. And extending that same acceptance and care and compassion and calmness and clarity to ourselves that we extend to other people who are suffering is really the key. So even when there's a lot of pain happening at that moment, just imagine like wrapping yourself in like a nice soft blanket of your own love, essentially. And like there are other things, like you can imagine you're surrounded by and being filled with white light, or like a light pink light is nice too. These can be things that can help to stay present during this type of experience. But the idea here is that if you resist those relatively short but very intense experiences when you're dealing with Chiron transits and Chiron pain just in general, really, if you resist that, it doesn't go away, it just also doesn't heal. So you can try to use escapism, you know, you can try to drink or, you know, use drugs. You can, you know, there's various things that people do, you know, watch TV, play video games, scroll their Facebook feed and just try to ignore it. Or you can just be like, you know what, right now I'm hurting a lot and I'm just going to be there with it and just be open to whatever arises from deep inside me. So like memories, like images from the past, different thoughts and feelings. And what's happening is these unconscious parts of you are saying, hey, this is how I was hurt. And it's stuff that's not usually in your awareness. And then, you know, just hold those parts in love. There are a couple of therapeutic modalities that I really like and have found extremely effective. One of them is called IFS, or internal family systems. And that modality is all about just interacting with these different parts of ourselves, finding out, you know, what kind of burden they're carrying, and, you know, letting them know they're safe now. You know, just holding them in love, helping them work through whatever it is. A lot of times it just needs to be witnessed. They just need to tell you, you know, what's happening, these parts of you. They're just like, hear me. And, you know, if you can witness it in love and acceptance, then a lot of times they're like, okay, well, I don't need to carry this around with me anymore, and it gets released. So IFS is really wonderful. I absolutely love IFS. I recognize that not everybody is at a point in their life to where depth work is where they're at. And also sometimes for some people, I think something called somatic experiencing, and there are books by Peter Levine about this that you could check out. And also there's somatic experiencing certified and IFS certified therapist too, if you want to work with an actual therapist with any things. And Chiron transits, you know, if you're going to do that, Chiron transits are a wonderful opportunity to do so. But anyways, there are books about each of these things if you want to just work on it yourself too. So there are wonderful books about both of them that are out. And somatic experiencing is more body-based, and it's all about how when we experience something that creates a great deal of stress, or like if we feel trapped in a situation that where we, you know, part of us feels like we need to act, but we, for whatever reason, can't or think we can't, and we hold, you know, that energy, we don't release it at the time, it ends up getting trapped in our nervous system, and it stays there and causes problems for us until we find a way to release it. So somatic experiencing is all about that. Both of them are wonderful. They can be used together too. Anyways, I'm going to stop talking about therapeutic modalities and move on. But basically the idea is that there are tools out there, and there are other tools too. Those are, like, I've looked at a lot of them. Those two just happen to be my favorite, particularly IFS. But in any case, the idea is that, you know, the trick with Chiron transits is to just let the doctor do his work. So even though it is not fun getting a filling, or it's not fun having a doctor like push around on your stomach, relief is on the way. And by, you know, if you know how to work with it and you are willing to do that, by the time the transit is over, you'll be a much healthier and happier person as a result of it. So it really is an opportunity. It's just one that doesn't necessarily always feel good the entire time. And I think, like, the earlier in a Chiron transit that you just go ahead and address whatever it is you need to address, the more comfortable the rest of it will be. I'm still in this Chiron transit, but I'm feeling pretty good right now. And I have been for probably the last almost a year. So there are definitely ways to work with it and to make it easier and to get some very real value out of it. And before I wrap up, I just want to touch on Chiron returns. So when Chiron actually makes its way all the way around the zodiac, and transiting Chiron is conjunct your natal Chiron, it's called a Chiron return. And we usually experience one of these in our lives because it happens like around midlife. I believe, I want to say early 50s. I probably should have looked that up before starting recording. That's okay. When we experience that, it's like we're being shown the deepest pain of our deepest pain. So that one can be particularly powerful. But everything that I said throughout this applies to that too. So it might be more intense. It might be more healing. Just more. It's just more. So in any case, that is about it for Chiron. So thank you very much. If you want to know how transiting Chiron is impacting your chart right now, if you would like a consultation about it, you can go to joythemodernmystic.com/services and book a consultation. I can do, look at your natal chart and where Chiron is in your natal chart and what Chiron's aspecting. And I can look at how transiting Chiron is impacting the rest of your chart. So I will put that link in the description of the video, and you can check it out if you'd like to. Thank you very much. See ya.